Hello and welcome to Research Department episode 2. This is all written beforehand because English is not my main language. I apologize if some mistakes do happen by my translation part, so let's get on to the video. So, if you have played any kind of games that relate to RPG, open world adventure or tactical games, where one role stands in position of keeping your team alive during the battle. Of course, there have been some interesting games / anime where healer role is something like OP. They have healing, defensive, support, and advanced or / attack powers or skills. Or some passive support that carries their entire team. But in this video, we are taking a look at possibly every carrier healer character. I want specifically to focus on carriers, because if I take account possibly all healers, this video is going to be jokingly long, because I also want to give my personal opinion about their combat function and effectiveness of their healing. Now, without any more delay, let's get started. Jade from Iron Blood. She was released at the same event where Bismarck made his return. However, Jade is by far the only elite healer carrier I personally don't like with passion. But maybe this can be changed. If you wonder why I personally dislike this healer, here is the issue. Her skill, a good girl's caprice, and how it works. Every time she launches an airstrike, subtracts 50 HP from a random ship in your fleet, and the ship who lost HP because of the skill's effect deals 8% more damage for 8 seconds. After that time has passed, 8 seconds, that ship recovers 5% of her max HP. It sounds weird on paper, and when you put it in practice, you will start to see how low effective it is in the long run. And trust me, I have played with her long enough that I lost 50 brain cells. But her skill, naughty, is decently good. Perhaps there could be more ludicrous or stupid or bizarre way to play with her. Maybe if you build a fleet where she is the flagship and have only one ship in Vanguard. If I remember right, the light cruiser Emden from Iron Blood had the skill to survive in solo Vanguard gameplay. Although, she too takes HP from other Iron Blood members if sailing together with them. But it's only 11 points and gives 10% firepower. So it is not that big a deal. Then we either use Akashi to heal and +1 ammo, or Unicorn to probably heal her, and maybe some other nation's battleship or an aircraft carrier, maybe Craft Zeppelin to reduce damage taken. But in my opinion, to the end, Jade is a hard ship to deal with. But she has good skins. Weser from Iron Blood. Now I think this is an interesting ship girl. A long time has passed since we got Craft Zeppelin released back in 2019 or 2020 in Divergent Chessboard. Now, in the Ironblood event where Peter and Weser was released, we finally got more aircraft carriers to the Ironblood. Peter is Zeppelin's sister, and Weser is built in heavy cruiser Hull, who was Hipper's sister. Now, how Weser got in this list? Her skill, Galvanizing Shield, is the reason. Every 20 seconds after the battle starts, deploys a shield that lasts for 8 seconds and can block 6 cells on a randomly chosen ship in your vanguard. If the shield is deployed on an Ironblood ship, also increases that ship's firepower by 15% for 8 seconds and heals Weser for 5% HP. Now, on paper, it seems like the light carrier is more survivable / or a tank side, and that firepower boost is very nice as well, even though it only lasts 8 seconds, but heals Weser in return. But to be fair, I haven't used her a lot until it is necessary, like trying to use her in support fleet in map 15. When we look at her offensive skill, the Lonesome Lockout, 70% chance to launch special airstrike. If there are 3 or more Ironblood on the same fleet, increases this ship's crit damage by 20%. If there are none, instead increases her reload by 10% and AA by 15%, and further increases the proc chance of the ship's special airstrike by 30%, and enhances it. The more I look into it, I believe this must be her design flaw to be more effective for the Ironblood fleet. She only gets crit damage buff, but alone she gets the buffs that could make her useful. That's my humble opinion. Her skins are nice too. Little Formidable from Royal Navy. This ship girl is a little unique. She is a little version from the original one, and her skills have changed to some degree. But let's focus on her skill. Light Snack Time. It says, every 20 seconds launches Albacore airstrike. If this skill activates while this ship is at 90% HP or above, every ship in your fleet is healed by 1% if their respective max HP, otherwise, if this ship is below 90% HP, this ship recovers 5% of its max HP. The skill sounds very flexible. It heals a small portion of your ships every 20 seconds. And if she took damage more than 10% of her own HP, she recovers herself. But in action, 20 seconds is a decently long time to wait, and 1% is a really small. But if you want to and like to use little / Chan ships, then this light one can help you to improve your fleet's survival just a little bit. Well. Unicorn from Royal Navy. The elite healer from the Royal Navy, who has retrofit available, turning this ship to a super rare status and improving her healing skill further. Let's start from the elite. Her support skill, Support Carrier. When the ship launches an Airstrike. Heals your vanguard for 8% of its max HP. This skill is one of the rarest ones, because what I can remember while writing this, only a couple of ships got this, and it is effective, even today. And the game is almost 10 years old. Now to retrofit. Uni's Aid. This ship starts the battle with one airstrike loaded. When this ship launches an airstrike, heals your vanguard for 8% of its max HP. For the first time this effect activates every battle. It also heals your entire main fleet for 5% of its max HP. And the lowest percentage HP ship in your main fleet for another 3% of its max HP. Now Uni is her horse's name, or Pegasus. I don't know, but anyway. She turned a very strong healer, in my opinion. And with another skill to boost Vanguard reload, I doubt we will not see healer like this in a long time. And let me remind you, she is an elite and transformed to a super rare. To be clear too, she is dependent on fast reloading planes to make her heal fast. But I have suspicion that you are sacrificing damage dealt for a heal, because some planes that can deal some damage has longer reload. But again, that changes plane to plane. Then again, she can deal some damage and heal Vanguard effectively at a same time. But I personally see a slight problem here too. If you want to build an one faction fleet and it needs a good healer or an item, you have to either use repair tools or unicorn. I don't know how to describe this properly, but you and I have to rely on her constantly when times needs her, making one faction fleet a slightly distant dream that lacks a competent healer to replace Unicorn. But remember, this is all my personal opinion. Perseus from Royal Navy. A light aircraft carrier from the Royal Navy, and first time released in Aurora Noctis, later now accessible in special construction. This super rare ship actually holds an interesting skill, Mercury's Talaria. This ship starts the battle with 2 airstrikes preloaded, but the loading time of its airstrikes is increased by 90%. Additionally, when this ship launches an airstrike, heals all ships in your vanguard for 7%, and your main fleet for 3.5% of their respective max HP. When Perseus was released, and when I wanted to use her, I realized that, in a humor way, Unicorn has finally a competitor. Or you can finally use 2 Royal Navy ships fleet to play through main campaign with a smooth wind. Her second skill, Waters of Styx, heals 1% HP to all ships in the same fleet. She is every 20 seconds. And for the other fleet, she gives support by healing Vanguard ships 3% HP. She is, in my opinion, a very effective healer even in Operation Siren. but you need to avoid those fleets where the boss either turns that heal into damage or heals himself with it. Anyway, another great healer in the game this far. Argus from Royal Navy. What was that? As I was doing fleet management, I found that the Argus has some sort of skill that heals only the carrier types. Supporting wings, Argus. When the HP of a CV or CVL in your fleet falls below 20% as of damage taken, restores 10% of that ship's max HP, can only activate once per battle. Now this heal only activates when a certain condition is met. And I personally don't like that. My ships has to lose more than 80% of their health until they get the heal. And worst about this, it goes only to the carriers. So you need to find someone else who can heal your vanguard or the entire fleet. Volga from Northern Parliament. Now this is a weird ship, but in comparison's sake, a lot better healer than Jade. Volga skill. Crystals of the Great River. Every 20 seconds, select the lowest HP percentage ship in your fleet, and afterwards 2 randomly chosen ships in your fleet, and recovers HP for the ship, so that's ship or ships, equal 5% of this ship max HP. It is possible for a ship to receive multiple heals. I used Volga at one point when I was testing NP fleet, and I admit, she is good, and her skill is flexible too, meaning she can heal other faction ships as well. Of course, her other skills might need at least one Parliament ship in one position to make her combat efficient too, but we are looking now at the heals. This healer is approved. Aquila from the Sardegna Empire. Now we take a look at the Sardegna Empire. Their candidate is Aquila. She is a real ship, like Graf Zeppelin existed, but never completed. A sad fate indeed. In-game her skill, Reign of Starlight. If this ship has fighter in her second gear slot, whenever this ship launches an airstrike, heal the ship in the vanguard and the ship in the main fleet who have the lowest percentage of remaining HP. Both ships are healed by 8% of their maximum HP. This skill lets you to choose do you want a healing carrier on your team, or would you rather take Dive Bomber to improve her damage dealing performance? With that little whoopsie daisy reading problem away. Emperor from the Sardegna Empire. Emperor, who sometimes adds brilliant to his name. Now let's just forget that and see what healing skills he is offering. Emperor is charitable. Increases this ship's damage dealt by 15% 10 seconds after the battle starts, and every 20 seconds after that, while a ship in your main fleet has between 20% and 90% HP remaining. If this ship has the highest percentage HP of all ships in your main fleet, and there are at least 2 ships in your main fleet, deducts 5% HP from this ship and heals your main fleet, ship with the lowest percentage HP, except this ship, for the amount of HP deducted from this ship. If this ship does not have the highest percentage HP, deducts 5% HP from your main fleet ship with the highest percentage HP and heals this ship for the amount of HP deducted from the other ship. Whichever ship is healed as a result of this skill has her evasion increased by 15% for 5%, excuse me. If the ship healed is from the Sardegna Empire, the amount is increased by 183. I first want to admit that I haven't used her much, or not at all, ever since I got her affinity to a maximum. I used her again when I was writing this analysis, and I confess, the skill is double-edged sword in my opinion, and activates below 90% and above 20% of the other ship's HP. She sacrifices her own HP to heal others, and steals others' HP if her own HP has dropped in the certain point to activate. But if her heal is targeted to a Sardegna ship, it gets an extra 183 points. In practice, it seems there are some moments where she may not heal at all, and skill focuses only on the main fleet. Very complex, in my opinion. Shouho from Sakura Empire. She is a rare light carrier and holds the same skill as Unicorn. Support carrier. Heal your Vanguard ships by 8% every time this ship launches an airstrike. But this is her only skill until you retrofit her and transform to Elite. She gets the air support skill that only increases the aviation of all carriers by 15%, but not this ship. This ship is an old one, but she is from the era when the game was still young and skills simpler and we had less ships. That Shouho and Unicorn holds the same skill. Excuse me. And I honestly like this. It gives you more options to use different ships from different factions and faction bonuses when sailing together. You could be surprised how many old ships have the same skills in different factions. But it has changed, it seems, over the years, and I kind of started to miss those days when skills were simple, that works the same, and different factions have that skill. Maybe that's why I see Shouho a very OG ship, original ship from those days. Perhaps I should use her more in the future and not just rely on just 1 or 2 healers from one faction. I'm looking at you, Royal Navy. Ryuho from Sakura Empire. Her quotes seem to point that her career was surrounded mainly by maintaining submarines and a light carrier. Her skills are interesting. Swirling cherry blossoms. The first one airstrike launches by this ship will heal 3 times over 3 seconds. Each heal targeting the ally surface ship with the lowest percentage of remaining HP. Each heal restores HP equal to 3% of Ryuho's maximum HP. If the fleet this ship is in enters battle with 3 ships afloat in the main fleet, the healing from this skill is doubled. Now this skill is interesting. It seems to activate only 3 times, if I understood it correctly. It only targets those who have lowest HP, and if you have full main fleet, the effect is doubled. Her second skill, Dancing Waves. It decreases vanguard damage taken from submarines by 12%. It also heals your submarine's HP by 20% when they enter the battle. And when submarine sinks an enemy ship, Ryuho's damage is increased by 3.5% and it can stack up to 6 times. This other skill focuses on healing your submarines, reducing vanguard damage taken by enemy submarines, and increases own damage if certain condition is met. I haven't used her much at all to this point, but it is good to see we have a variety of healers to choose to use. And our candidate is from Sakura Empire. This first purpose-built and old carrier 2 in history. Hosho. For the longest time she originally did not have the healing skill at all, only giving more XP to all carriers and aviation stats too. Now with the augment modules these days she gets one for the carriers only. Air Support Hosho. When this ship launches an airstrike, increases your carriers and light carriers aviation and accuracy stat by 15% for 8 seconds. Then activates the following effect 3 seconds. The ship in your main fleet with the lowest current HP percentage recovers HP equal to 3.5% of Hosho's max HP. If this effect activates on a CV or CVL, the healing potency is increased by 100%. And this ship fires level 10 special airstrike. Now, his skill is supporting both carrier types and helps them survive longer. If I am using Sakura Empire carriers as much like the Iron Plots, I think I would use her often when I need her, to increase efficiency of my carriers, or maybe all factions' carriers. This is flexible skill after all. Taiho Micro from Sakura Empire. This is Taiho from musical event. Reduces stats, but different skills. That's why she is here. Her skill, Soaring Opening, mentions the following. Once per battle, when this ship HP falls below 35% from being attacked, fires barrage that heals this ship for 8% of damage dealt, which is based on the skill's level. Now, this skill only focuses on keeping her alive longer, but activates once per battle. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think about these healers? And who do you use often? Thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Stay strong. Take care of yourselves. Have a good day.